Ever feel like you're all alone? Even when you're surrounded by people.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's something I think we can all relate to, right?
We're diving into loneliness today, but get this, we're going to try to flip the script.
Yeah, like turn it on its head, you know?
Exactly. See if we can find a way to make it a strength, turn it into
Oh,
something positive. Our source material is this excerpt, Reframing Loneliness, a different way to look at isolation.
sounds pretty deep.
It is. It really digs deep into how we can change our perspective on this whole feeling of loneliness.
Okay, so first things first. What exactly are we talking about when we say loneliness?
Right, because it's not always just being physically alone.
Yeah, sometimes you can be surrounded by people and still feel completely isolated.
Totally. And the source really emphasizes how universal this feeling is. We all experience it at some point.
Makes you feel less, I don't know, weird about it.
Less alone and feeling lonely.
Uh-huh, exactly. Less alone and feeling lonely. That's a good one.
I like that. And, the source actually suggests that this feeling, this loneliness, it actually holds potential
Wait, really? Like potential for what?
for growth, for creativity,
Yeah.
even for building resilience.
I never thought about it that way. It's always just been, well, a negative thing to avoid.
Right. But think about it. When you're alone with your thoughts, you have the space to really reflect. Maybe even uncover things about yourself you didn't realize before.
Kind of like a mental detox.
Yeah, exactly. A chance to declutter all the noise and really listen to what's going on inside.
Okay, I can see that. And what about creativity? How does loneliness play into that?
Well, some of history's most brilliant minds, artists, writers, they actually thrived in solitude. They used that time alone to fuel their imagination.
Think of it like this. When you're constantly bombarded with input from others, it's hard to hear your own inner voice.
It's like your own creative spark gets drowned out.
So by embracing solitude, you're giving yourself permission to tap into that quiet space where ideas can flow more freely.
The source also talks about how loneliness can build resilience.
Resilience, like bouncing back from tough times.
Exactly. When you learn to navigate loneliness, you're basically strengthening your emotional muscles.
It's like anything else. The more you practice dealing with something challenging, the better you get at handling it.
It's like, if you only ever lift 5-pound weights, you'll never get stronger.
Right, you gotta challenge yourself to grow those muscles.
And that's what facing loneliness head on can do for us emotionally.
I'm starting to see loneliness in a whole new light. Like it's not necessarily something to be afraid of, but more like a teacher.
A teacher, yeah. But the source actually takes it a step further. It suggests reframing loneliness as solitude.
Solitude. But aren't they kind of the same thing?
Not exactly. Loneliness often feels imposed upon us, like something we're trying to escape.
Right, it's like a negative feeling.
Solitude, though, is about choosing to be alone, intentionally creating space for yourself.
So it's more about having agency, like you're making a conscious decision.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective can make a huge difference in how we experience being alone.
Okay, so solitude is like a tool we can use.
Exactly. It can be a powerful tool for recharging, for setting goals, for simply enjoying our own company.
So instead of dreading being alone, we can see it as an opportunity to do things we might not prioritize otherwise.
Things like, reading a good book, spending time in nature, pursuing a hobby.
Or just, taking a long bath without feeling guilty about it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we actually do this reframing thing? The source talks about some practical steps.
Yeah, give us the how-to.
One of the big ones is gratitude. Focusing on the good stuff, even when you're feeling down.
It's like instead of dwelling on what you're missing, you appreciate what you already have.
Right. And it sounds cheesy, but it really can shift your whole mindset.
Okay, I can try that. What else?
Self-compassion. Being kind to yourself, especially when you're struggling.
Easier said than done sometimes, right?
I know, but the source emphasizes that we wouldn't be so harsh on a friend going through the same thing.
So why do we do it to ourselves, right?
Exactly. It's about treating ourselves with the same understanding and support we'd offer someone we care about.
Like giving yourself a break.
Totally. And speaking of connecting, the source also highlights the importance of finding ways to connect with others, even when you're feeling lonely.
So it's not about shutting everyone out.
Not at all. It's about being intentional about finding your tribe. People who get you, who share your interests.
Could be anything. Really volunteering, joining a club, even just striking up a conversation with someone new.
Right. Or like those online communities, people connecting over shared passions.
Yeah, that's a great point. Even when you're physically alone, you can still find ways to feel connected.
And what about those times when you are truly alone? How do we make the most of those moments?
Well, the source talks about the power of mindfulness, like meditation, for example.
It's about being present in the moment, finding peace and clarity, whether you're by yourself or with others.
It's like quieting the mental chatter.
Yeah, and learning to be comfortable with the silence. And that's where I think that whole idea of loneliness as a source of strength really comes full circle.
It's like when you can sit with yourself without feeling the need to distract yourself, that's powerful.
You're not afraid of your own company.
Yeah.
And from there, you can really start to dig into self-discovery, explore your creativity.
And like we talked about earlier, build that resilience.
This has been amazing. So if you had to boil it all down to one key takeaway for our listener, what would it be?
I think it's this. Loneliness is not the enemy. It's human. And if we can reframe it as solitude,
We can actually unlock its potential for growth.
it can become a source of empowerment, of self-discovery, and yeah, even joy. It's all about perspective.
Love that.
Yeah.
So the next time you're feeling that pang of loneliness, remember, it's not the end of the world.
It might just be the beginning of something amazing.
What will you discover when you turn moments of loneliness into opportunities for solitude? That's something to think about, isn't it?
Definitely something to think about. I know I will.